Hi guys, thought I'd do a little mental health update. I'm waiting outside the Young Vic for Nadia to go and see a play called Blood Wedding. I've had my hair cut, which is interesting because Nadia always says that, you know, the whole thing of shaving, haircut, when one lets it go for too long, one is sort of willfully allowing oneself to degenerate in a way. Well, she doesn't say that. I mean, that's what I kind of read into it. She sort of says, "Oh, if you let yourself go, you just feel worse and worse and worse, and then you get body dysmorphic, and then you get down on yourself, and then you're self-critical, and then the internal critic gets louder and louder and louder." And so that incidental detail, what seems incidental, which is making sure one looks one's best, isn't about vanity. I'm not a vain person. I have huge paranoias about the way I look, like most people do. And one of those things that I could always do to help myself, and, you know, various of you subscribers have been screaming this, and I've felt your frustration as you've said, get your hair cut, and you're absolutely right. So why don't I do it sooner? Why do I sometimes allow my hair or my stubble to get to a prolonged state whereby it allows me to feel even more negative about myself than I perhaps would if I, you know, shaved and got my hair cut? And there's a desire, I think. It goes back to this thing of part of everyone's character makeup or psychological makeup is self-sabotage, or not just self-sabotage, but leaving little kind of landmines that you can step on yourself. So we do this thing where what I'm trying to say is like, I'll know that, you know, not having a shave will make me feel really unattractive, and then it'll make me think, oh God, you know, Nadia doesn't want to kiss me because I'm stubbly, all that kind of stuff. So I allow it to get past like 2 days or whatever, and I'm quietly conning myself that I haven't let it go, that really she doesn't like me, and this is very normal and natural, whereas actually I should have just had a shave. So what I then allow myself to do, I allow myself the indulgence to think that she doesn't want to kiss me, and that must mean something unacceptable about myself. So it's that weird thing of willfully calling a negative perception of you by being negative about yourself. So a classic example is being in a room, being really quiet and moody and very unapproachable, and then being hurt that no one's approached you, when many people are actually just kind of being respectful of the fact that you're emanating this hum of don't approach me. And I think a lot of people do that. I think that's almost the definition of sulking, isn't it? I'm going to be present, but I don't want to be present. I only want to be present to make you realize I'm present. And it's, you know, and I remember my grandfather used to sulk an awful lot on the atmosphere and the stress and all that sort of stuff. Now, there's a difference in sometimes between me and Nadia. You've probably seen in some of our relationship podcasts where she thinks I'm sulking. I'm genuinely not. I'm sort of genuinely in my own head. I'm a very, you know, I spend a lot of time in my head thinking, and this face thing here, as with all my daughters in fact, can look very severe or very straight when I'm actually preoccupied with something else. But anyway, so I've had my hair cut today, and it's, you know, the reason I'm banging on about it is it's about as symbolic as taking antidepressants. What am I now? We've been back just over a week. So I've been back on them a week. I'd be lying if I said I feel suddenly so much better. I don't feel as bad as I did when I was on them for the first week of trying them, if you like. I have a lot of hot flushes. I don't know if anyone else gets that from these sudden, inexplicable bursts of heat. I have moments of real sort of fuzzy dizziness. Now, these are all just symptoms. Sometimes, if I get up too quickly, I feel very dizzy. I feel but most people feel this, around about 4 o'clock, I feel so tired that not just that I could, that I actually have to sit down and stop and almost close my eyes. I'm so exhausted. That could be as much about, going to bed so late and getting up early and all that kind of stuff. But how do I feel in terms of myself? Well, it's weird. I feel like that swirling, stirring sort of hurricane. When you look at like a hurricane on a meteorological map of the world, and you see the eye of the storm. You've probably heard me talk about the fact that I've flown through one, and we did a film for Nat Geo years ago about it. And it's like, it's a very useful image of depression, the hurricane. because it's a swirling, stirring. And within that swirling, there's so much activity. There's highs and lows, more lows than highs, but there's all sorts of spiky, sparky, shooting off sort of emotions, but quite vibrantly coloured. Then it's not just dull, but then at the centre of any hurricane is the eye of the storm, and the eye of the storm is traditionally the calmest spot in any hurricane, and that for me is in a sense the not sweet spot of depression. It's like a calmness, depression is like occupying that calmness at the centre of a hurricane, but feeling utterly neither feeling sad nor happy, bad nor good, about an inevitability to this thing that's going round you and round you and round you, and is actually sort of engulfing you. So you don't feel worried about it. You don't feel anything. You're not even feeling an emotion on the range of good or bad. You're just feeling a strange flatness that's being generated, ironically, by all this other stuff flushing around your system. So there's this process of flushing around your body, flushing around your mind, and yet your heart and your head is just weighed down, weighted by this awful sack of monotone, matte finished, grey, rubbly, sort of a silence, a sort of muffled, silent, an inability to see clearly. I mean, these are all the sort of things that I characterise, the feeling of depression when it lands on you. So on these drugs, that feeling is sort of 6 feet above me. So it's almost like I look up and I see the cloud, or I see the eye of the storm, or I see it all going on above me. But I feel strangely like taken out of my body and just parked to the side. So it's still going on, but something somewhere has slightly dislocated me and pushed me to the side. Now, when those moments happen, I feel I can only sit and stare. And I'm not a sitter and starer, if such a thing is, if you could say such a thing. I don't sit and stare, but I have sat and stared at times. Like when Nadia was away, I could sit at the table and the girls were, busy doing their things. I would just sit and I would just look. And then what would happen is that slow, encroaching anxiety. It's like, although it's doing something, it's not quite keeping the anxiety away. Now, of course, the most logical answer to that is maybe I need to up my dosage or whatever. But I'm still theoretically only really effectively 3 weeks in. But as I talk about it now, I sometimes get panic-stricken trying to be able to nail what it is. I get nervous and edgy about not being able to give the feeling that I have enough sustenance with words. And the problem with all this bloody stuff, and I'm good with words, is that it's not wordy. It's a thing. It's a blanket. It's a colour. It's just an energy, or it's a lack of energy. It's a lack of energy that flattens you. You get flat, and I spiritually feel flattened by it. Now, are the drugs keeping that at bay? I don't know. I just think that when I would be at my worst, I'm simply sitting there and staring. Does anyone else get that? So staring is the thing that's working for me. I suppose allowing myself to stop and allowing myself the time. I don't do it for hours. I just sit there for a good 2 or 3 minutes and I stare. But like right now, for example, I feel really anxious about... What do I feel anxious about tonight? I mean, I'm going out to the theatre. I'm seeing Nadia. I'm really looking forward to... I get anxious that I'm not going to be the right person or the right thing, or I'm not going to be the sufficient partner or husband, or there's not enough. I'm not offering enough. And I mean, what is enough? What is enough? I mean, it's not like Nadia's after anything more than just seeing me and a big smile and a hug and we sit down. Or, sometimes I imbue situations with too much complications and too much complexity, and I think that's something that is a problem with the addict's mind. It's a problem with the depressive's mind, is that we think things are so much more complicated than they necessarily are. Sometimes things are just what they are. Like Nadia often says, she'll say something and I'll go, oh, do you mean that? And she's like, no, I actually mean what I said. And sometimes the things that you see in front of you are the things that they are in front of you. And I do have to teach myself to not overanalyze, because my natural instinct in education, in work, in everything that I do is to overanalyze, because overanalyzing is how you direct and how you make stuff and how you know, come up with new ideas and how you make films and how you write scripts and all that kind of stuff. Overanalyzing is how you become a better person in relationships. So it's really hard to know when to overanalyze, when to be hypercritical, and when to just step back and go, you know what, this is too much. As I'm speaking now, my chest is getting flutterier and flutterier and flutterier. So what I'm going to do now is turn off, sit, close my eyes for 10 minutes before Nadia gets here, and calm down. What do you think of my hair, though? That was the first move. That was the first move towards helping today, sorting my hair out. Anyway, there you go. Okay, well, I closed my eyes for 5 minutes and I want to be able to say that it's helped, but it hasn't helped. What does one do in circumstances like this? What does one do? How does one get rid of the angst? How does one get rid of the anxiety? How does one get rid of the nerves? The rain, it's called pathetic fallacy, isn't it? When the rain reflects the emotions of a character in a book. And right now it's raining on my heart. It's really raining. You see, this is the weird thing. I just feel on edge. I feel so on edge. It's not even necessarily that I feel, as I said before, down. I just feel on edge. So could you tell me, anyone, if this is quite normal, these symptoms? I'm taking these pills in the middle of the morning because I don't want to take them before I go to bed, because I don't want to make my sleeping any more broken or haphazard than it already was. So anyway, I tried relaxing. I might try meditation. Nadia's nearly here. I'm sure she would have a meditation for me, but it didn't work. It didn't work. Still feel the same feeling, and it's just like, I don't know what to do. Just let it work its way through, I guess.